Every few years, this industry shifts. I've watched 30 of them. I saw virtual client meetings before most advisors thought it was possible. I saw content marketing work while compliance was still saying no. I'm calling the next one right now. Advisors who figure out how to leverage AI agents in the next 5 years will pull so far ahead that nobody will be able to catch them. And I had the conversation last month that confirmed it. So as I've said many times before, I've been in financial services for nearly 30 years now, long enough to recognize when an industry shift is real and permanent versus hype that fades in 12 to 18 months. This one is real, and it's moving faster than any of the previous ones I've called before. Last month, I was at a leadership retreat for a firm I advise. I won't name the firm, but what I can tell you is I was in the room with their executive team, their leadership team, and they were walking through what they're building internally. A team of AI agents that handled the firm's administrative work automatically in the background without anyone initiating it.
So robots building robots.
That conversation hit me, but it wasn't new to me because I already had evidence. I have a friend who runs a firm, over $2 billion in assets and growing, 100 relationship managers, over 4,000 leads a month coming into his marketing pipeline. He and I talk every month. And over the last year, the conversations we have aren't about AUM or advisor hiring. They are, but not really. They're about the systems he's building. Here's what told me the moat is real. Fortune 50 companies have started showing up at his firm to look under the hood. Not financial firms, Fortune 50 operating companies. They walk through what he's built and they tell him the same thing every time. Dude, you're running a tech company here. This is incredible. You're going to be so far ahead of the game. And that distinction matters because the advisors he's competing against are still thinking of themselves as advisors with software subscriptions. He's operating as a technology company with advisors on staff. And the gap between those two things over 5 years is uncatchable. So when I walked out of that leadership retreat last month, I wasn't surprised. I was confirmed. What I'm seeing at the top of this industry isn't speculation. It's already happening. The firms at the leading edge aren't waiting to see if AI works. They're already 3 years into making it compound. And the advisors who haven't started are already behind. They just haven't felt it yet. Here's my thesis. The gap isn't about tools. Anybody can buy ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, or Grok tomorrow. The gap is about context. 3 years of client conversations, meeting notes, compliance records, and operational patterns feeding into agents that get smarter every single day. The firm that started 3 years ago is 3 years smarter. And the longer this runs, the wider that gap gets. Once it's formed, you cannot catch up by spending more money. You can only catch up by having started earlier. Most advisors haven't even started. Here's what I want you to understand. The real question isn't what AI can do. I think that's indisputable, and it's only going to get better. The real question is this: what work is currently trapping you in your zone of excellence, let's say, your zone of competence or your zone of incompetence? And which of that work could an agent take off your plate so you can spend more of your week, your month, your year in your zone of genius? That's the frame. If you're not familiar with the zones, here's the short version. Your zone of genius is the work you do that feels almost effortless, like you're in flow, and produces this extraordinary result for your clients. It's what you were built for. For most advisors I know, that's being in front of clients, asking the right question, double-clicking when a client says something offhand, noticing the body language that tells you the real issue isn't the one that they're talking about on the agenda. Behavioral coaching, letting a client explain themselves into their own answer. That's the work. That's the work that moves the needle. That's the work that keeps clients for life. And that's the work you probably don't get to do enough of. Now, let me walk you through 4 categories of agents I've been watching firms architect. For each one, I'm going to tell you what zone the work currently traps you in and what zone of genius it opens up if you can get it off your plate. Category 1, I call this category the listener. The listener is an agent that sits in every meeting you take, every phone call you make, every Zoom meeting you schedule, every client touch point. It captures the conversation, identifies the action items, flags the commitments you made, and queues them up for you to approve. It also scans your email threads for promises you forgot you made. It watches your chat channels for tasks buried 3 messages deep or so. Now, before you say this, I can already hear what you're thinking. Dom, doesn't Jump AI do that, or Read AI, or any of the other note taker? Yes, and also no. Those tools capture a meeting. They transcribe it, they spit out action items. That's transactional. You get a good summary of one conversation. That's great. Now multiply that across 1,000 client conversations a year and ask yourself a question. Is the tool getting smarter about my book of business? Is it getting smarter about the Jones family? Is it getting smarter about what retiring business owners tend to worry about in year 3 versus year 1? Probably not. Most of those tools dump the transcript and move on. What you want is an agent that compounds, an agent that remembers every conversation you've had with a specific client family across the years, not just the last one. An agent that recognizes patterns across client types. An agent that gets smarter the longer it runs in your business. That's the difference. A note taker captures a meeting. A listener understands your book. And here's the zone this puts most advisors in right now. You're in a client meeting, you're taking notes. You're trying to remember what you promised the last time. You're mentally tracking the 3 follow-ups this conversation is going to generate. You're a good note taker, no doubt. You're operating in your zone of excellence. And that's the trap. Because every ounce of attention you give to your notebook is attention you're not giving to the human sitting right across from you. You're not noticing the micro expression when they mention their daughter's wedding. You're not catching the pause when you asked about their parents that are aging. You're not double clicking on the throwaway line about their business partner because you were writing down the last thing they just said. The listener takes that off your plate. And when that does, here's what opens up. You get to be fully present. You get to ask the question behind the question. You get to notice what the client isn't saying. You get to operate where you were built to operate. That's your zone of genius, not your note-taking skills. Category 2, the forgetter. I know this is kind of a weird name, but stick with me. The forgetter does exactly what the name implies. It lets you forget. Deadlines, filings, renewals, CE stuff, signatures that are still pending, state registrations, insurance expirations, you get the picture. Every regulatory and operational date that currently lives as background noise in your brain gets handed off to an agent that never lets one slip. By the way, if you want to see what this actually looks like in my business, I walked through the exact agent I built for my own week in episode 16 of this channel. It's called I Built an Agent That Runs My Entire Week. Here's what it does. Go watch that one after this. It's the show and tell version of what I'm describing conceptually right now. Now, back to the forgetter. Here's the zone you're probably in right now. You're capable of tracking your deadlines. You've got a calendar. You've got reminders. You're in your zone of competence on this one. It's not exciting work. It's not what you love doing, but you can do it. And that's the trap too, because the mental tax of remembering every deadline, even subconsciously, makes you worse at everything else. There's a concept called cognitive load. Every open loop in your brain, every don't forget the ADV amendment, every did I sign that renewal yet, is a tab that's running in the background. It's taking processor power from the stuff you actually care about. The forgetter closes all those tabs. And when it does, you get your processor back. You get strategic thinking back. You get creative planning back. You get to be fully present in the client meeting without a piece of your brain wondering if you missed something. That's zone of genius territory. You didn't become an advisor to be a compliance calendar. You became one to think. Quick pause. Before you can even figure out which of these agents you need to audit 3 things about your business. I call it my little advisor blueprint challenge. Know thyself, know thy craft, and know thy worth. 3 questions that show you where your time is leaking, what you're actually built for, and whether you're charging what you're worth. If you want me to walk you through it personally, the link is in the description. Now back to the episode. Category 3 is the operator. The operator handles the administrative plumbing of your business. Invoices, bookkeeping, expense coding, travel booking, vendor coordination, event logistics. All the work that has to happen for your firm to run, my firm to run, that you hate doing, that I hate doing, that you're usually not great at anyway. Let me be honest with you about what zone this work lives in for most advisors. This is your zone of incompetence, meaning by definition, it's somebody that can do this way better than you. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, you know you're bad at it, you hate doing it, and every hour you spend on it is a miserable hour. And here's the worst part. You know it shouldn't even be on your plate. You know it. Go ahead and admit it. You know it. But it's on your plate anyway. because hiring somebody to handle it feels like too much overhead for the volume you have, or you don't trust anybody else to do it right, or you keep telling yourself, I'll get to it this weekend. The operator is the category that hits fastest and feels the biggest because it replaces work you shouldn't have been doing in the first place. When it comes off your plate, you get hours back every week, not minutes, hours. And those hours are some of the most expensive hours you have because they were coming out of your zone of genius time, whether you realized it or not. Category 4, the librarian. The librarian is the agent that builds your firm's memory. It watches how you actually work, and it writes down what it sees, your processes, your playbooks, your client preferences, your SOPs, your meeting prep notes, your here's how we onboard documentation. All of it written by the agent from observation without anyone sitting down to type it out. It also writes your pre-meeting briefings. You've got a client meeting tomorrow, the librarian pulls up every conversation you've had with that client over the last 12 months, surface the things you promised to follow up on, flag the topic the clients care about, and handed you a one-page briefing before you walk into the room. Here's the zone this work traps most advisors in. You know your processes, you know your clients, you're in your own zone of genius on this one. You can do the prep, you can write the SOP, you just don't because it's the kind of work that never feels urgent. It always gets pushed, and that's the trap. Because every meeting you walk into underprepared is a meeting where you're operating from memory instead of intelligence. Every new team member you hire starts from scratch because nothing is written down. Every time someone leaves your firm, they take institutional proprietary knowledge with them that you'll spend 6 months or more rebuilding. The librarian solves all of that. And what it opens up for you is a part of the advisor job that actually requires genius. Asking better questions, deeper discovery, coaching clients through behavioral decisions, being 3 steps ahead because you walked in with a full picture, not a half-remembered one. Now let's come back to the thesis. Why do I keep saying 5 years? Because that's about how long it's going to take for the advisors who start now to build the context moat I described at the beginning. 3 years of feeding their agents, the conversations, the patterns, the processes, the client relationships, and then another 2 years for those agents to compound it into something nobody can replicate.
This is heavy duty, Doc. This is great.
If you start today, you're inside that window. If you start 3 years from now, you're outside of it. The advisors who are in the window are going to be operating with institutional intelligence that late adopters will not be able to match. Not because the late adopters are less smart, because their agents are just younger. Now, I know that some of you are thinking, Dom, this is great. I love it, but I'm with a firm or a broker dealer that will never let me do this. Compliance would lose their minds. And I hear you. And here's my honest answer. You may be right, and you may be right with the wrong firm. Because here's what's true. The firms that figure out how to make AI and compliance coexist in the next 5 years are the firms that will still exist in 10. The firms that use compliance as the reason to never adopt anything are going to be gone. Not because compliance is going away, but because the firms who are solving this are already building it the right way, with audit trails, with approval workflows, with supervision baked into the system from day one. If your firm's answer to AI agents is no because compliance, you're not at a firm that's going to be around long enough to protect you. That's not me being harsh. That's me being honest. The partner you need is the one that's figuring this out right now, not the one that's still pretending it isn't happening. Here's what I keep coming back to. When I saw virtual client meetings coming, the advisors who moved first got an audience that the rest of the industry spent 5 years trying to build. When I saw content marketing work, the advisors who moved first built email lists and LinkedIn followings that nobody catches anymore. The pattern is the same every time. The early movers don't just win, they make it mathematically impossible for the late movers to catch up. That's what's about to happen with AI agents. So, here's where I leave you. You don't have to build 7 agents right now. You don't need a budget. You don't need a developer. What you need is a decision. The decision is whether you're going to be inside the window or outside of it. The cheapest version of this decision is free, actually. Pick one category I just walked you through: the listener, the forgetter, the operator, or the librarian. And ask yourself, which one is stealing the most hours from my zone of genius right now? And then make a move this week. Any move. Even if it's a bad first version. We all have done that. Because every week you wait is a week the advisors who started earlier are compounding. If you want me to walk this through with you personally, I'm opening up 3 one-on-one slots this month. We'll audit your business together, figure out what's going on, figure out which category has the biggest return for you in ROI, and then map out what to build first. 3 slots, that's it. Link is in the description. Now, before I let you go, tell me in the comments, out of those 4 categories, between me and you, which one is stealing the most hours from your zone of genius right now? Is it the listener, the forgetter, the operator, or the librarian? Drop your answer below, because I read every comment and I'll reply to as many as I can. And if this one hit you, hit subscribe. The Advisor Architect is where I drop this kind of stuff every week inside of our Signal community. No fluff, no hype, just what I'm actually seeing from inside the industry. I'm Dom Henderson, and stop waiting to be ready. The ones who win this wave start before they feel ready. See you next week, my friend.